So I'm pushing into another turn here. And I did the aging, and it is important to do this right. So things are placed at the beginning of the game on the board, and the aging step can't work then because reinforcements happen afterwards. So things are timed right. Everything ages, and now the reinforcements come on, which includes the new nations that I haven't addressed yet. So I'll look those up and place them and grab their nation sheets and all kinds of other stuff. Now, this all sounds as easy as in Britannia, but it's not, because there's more crap here. That's all. Again, the randomizing for the Huns. I draw 7 cav, of which 6 are infantry because they're elite on the other side. Not clear in the rules whether that's right or not. I didn't see anything that said one way or another. But, you know, that doesn't make that big a difference, except I have shittier Huns than I could have had because I drew all the best pieces. So there you have that. And, you know, as we're setting up the new ones, we put their markers on the board. The treasury doesn't really matter, but the age does, because that has to be there for next turn, you know. Another look at let's take a look at another reinforcement. In this case, it's the Alemanni. They're going to get 2 units, which is going to be random units, including their cav, which only end up as infantry anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And their current king goes away. He's going to get replaced. He's going to come back on turn 4, but we're going to just get, if I can find where I put him, one of these random ones. Now, they are the same on either side, so it doesn't matter. Sometimes they're not. In fact, he might be, sometimes they have a numbered one on one side or another. So I'm going to get 2 random units out of this pile, and those go over here where the horde is. Because I'm submitted, I only get 1. Okay, so there's sort of some weird things here that I don't know what to resolve as, but for the turn, hey, I set up the barbarians that are coming in, and you've got quite a few on the board. Burgundians, Vandals, Swebi, obviously the Huns. I think that's it in terms of new ones. I believe these guys are Germanic, but I'm not positive. I know the Goths are, and obviously the Franks and the Alemanni. That's important because on this turn, the Hun major invasion is kind of weirdly interleaved. The Huns get their first turn of their major invasion, then all the Germanic tribes get their turn, their full turn, I think. Trying to piece together this crap is difficult. It's in the errata, and it's not well explained in there either, but apparently Thibault himself isn't responsible for the errata, from what I hear. It's someone else who's doing it, similar to with Le Grand Guerre, where, you know, it was like, I designed this game sort of partially, and you handle figuring out how to make it actually work. And that's kind of the issue here. Like, the rules were written and are not in good shape, and it's like, wash my hands of this shit. It's not my job. Which, you know, the big idea in this, unlike either of those other 2 games, really isn't that big an idea. This is not too far from what Hispania is. In some ways. It's more bloated and more obscene, but it is similar to the same kind of crap. Okay. So what else did we get to? So getting down here, oh, we've got, did I get the Vandals? Yeah. Then we hit this, all other nations get a Rex and 1 unit, barbarians only. Okay, well, I guess that means all other nations get a Rex. If they had one, they have one. I mean, we're talking about things like this who don't have a king. I don't know. I don't know that there are any other nations. Like, I think they're all covered, but this same thing is used in every single turn coming forward. So I think it's just a boilerplate that was put in that absolutely is already covered, and at some point or another may be important. And except there's one group that kind of needs this, which is these Slavic barbarians. And I guess they get a unit each. I mean, they'd be pathetic otherwise and too easy to conquer. So I gave them each a unit. And then we got some additional leaders for Persia and Rome. Now, Rome has a special rule, which is Theodosius shows up, I think it's Theodosius II, if either the Western or Eastern Emperor is eliminated and is like a bonus extra emperor who shows up at that point. Did I lose? I did not lose a Caesar. I'm not sure where these guys want to set up, but I think they want to set up with their big force. Now this is actually overstacked. That's not a problem, I think. I don't know. But again, overstacking just happens. I assume if you are overstacked, you can't bring too many troops into the battle, because that would be an unreasonable situation. And that means we go back to the sequence of play. We got the reinforcements. We will be at the events. Each player gets an event card. Well, I can do that. The Romans get the first one, and it's a play immediately. It is a famine. Okay, reduce loss by 2 each for grain, I guess. This looks like something that I probably need the book that contains stuff. I hope it's not there. I don't know. It might be, it might not be. I don't think so. All these damn little booklets. I mean, I don't know that there's a better way to handle this level of special rules. But we do not trust that that the cards contain the information that is the same here. And then, of course, we might see. Select a civilized area at random using the revolt table. Roll again if the area selected already suffers from scarcity, which I guess is famine. Place a famine counter on the affected area. Remove it at the end of the turn. Of course, that won't be specified. All provinces and city income from the affected area are reduced by 1/3 unless already reduced by plague. In which case, what? I guess nothing. The income loss is reduced by 2 per granary province controlled by the nation. The reduction applies to each famine and scarcity. Okay. So what's up here? Are these scarcities, famines, what? Oh. Okay, I think Penuria is maybe scarcity. I found a famine marker. Okay. So I'll randomize where that shows up. The Roman player got to pick it. Since Persia's against Persia, you randomize which civilized thing gets it, which appears to be, that this is a little disturbing. It appears to be, like the revolts, completely random. So the 2 Romes each have 1 chance at it, and Persia has a chance at it, which means a very small kingdom could end up having as much of a chance of a revolt as a huge empire that covers the map. That is a little disturbing to me, but whatever. Okay, let's take a look at the next card, which is the Huns here. Good administration. You draw an extra administration card, and you can look at all your cards before choosing. That's potent. That means you don't have to pick the class that you're taking. So I have a couple of nice cards here that don't really help with a bunch of barbarians. Over to the Persians. Pillages and orgies. Now this is something you hold on to. May only be played on a barbarian nation when it loots a city. It generates 2 extra pillage markers. If the city is level 2 or 3 and fails, it's reduced by a level. Interesting. That could be fun. And then our final one is over here, and I don't know what they're holding. They're holding a city, which can only be played by on a civilized nation. I don't have a civilized nation, so this is kind of like a long-term hold card. And what else do I have? Treachery, which I seem to be holding for the Huns. I don't really need it. I could have used it over here to screw with them more completely, and that might have gotten me a victory that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise, and it might have been worth 4 victory points, but I think it's worth more saving me from the Huns. So, that puts me on diplomacy. Persia, we got to look at our king. What's the diplomatic bonus? The diplomatic bonus is the middle number. So, Persia gets 1 card. I have to reshuffle the entire diplomacy deck before I do this. But that's not where we actually are. Note that Rome, again, you know whether Rome's boned in terms of getting an event that's good or bad. Whatever that means, it's kind of a weird little difference between the players, which I don't know. I mean, it doesn't tell you much, but it's probably not good to get a brown one. But knowing that you're getting a brown one, I don't know who that helps more. Okay. Actually, we have the raids first, and I'll just do them. We've seen them happen, and after that, I randomly roll for the caravans. I specify that I randomly roll so that I don't try to sort of influence the dice. I used to be able to do some tricks with the dice where I could kind of... I could basically, like with a 6-sided die of a reasonable size, and this size or bigger, flip it in such a way that I had about a 1/3 chance of getting the number that I chose, about a 6 or whatever, which, is probably not that impressive, but I would tell people, I would make people a bet that, if I would say if I roll 6 dice, I can guarantee I'll get a 6. And people would make a bet on that of some sort or another. They would say, well, that's not assured. What are you doing there? And I'm like, no, I'm serious, And it wouldn't be for money or anything, but I'd take 6 dice, 1, 2, 3. Oh, there's one. 1, 2, 3, and it was just like, yeah, eventually it's going to fail. But I'd do it like 20 times in a row. Because I'm changing the odds, it's still possible I could fail, but it was pretty unlikely. And maybe it was better than a 1/3 chance. Maybe it was closer to like 50-50 or something if I was working at it. I don't know if I could still do it. Anyway, I just had to do that. I'm not going to go right into the raid, or I'm not going to just roll them and come back and tell you about them. So here I've already got a plus raid. This pillage doesn't matter. That's just a penalty for the income for that turn. And I hope I took it into account, but I probably didn't. Because I was so worried about looking up the right numbers there and adding everything up and everything. Whatever. Maybe I did. Who knows? So, I would get a -1 to raiding this, and I can't do it because it has a city. I can't do this because it has a city. Otherwise, I might want to raid this. That's actually what I was thinking, but I'm like, no. So yeah, I have to go here, and that gives me a +2 for the raid plus marker. And that's it. Which might end up with some troops taking that area over. I get a 4 instead. That is a failure, so... one of, I don't know where they are these them? One of these guys goes and is dead. Once they're destroyed, they're no longer in the play, and it's not a problem. So yeah, their raid failed, and their raid marker, I'm going to push to next turn. Next turn is a victory point turn, just as a reminder. Let's look at the next one. The next one's the Picts. So they've got a raid minus marker, and there's a limitas there. A raid minus gives me +1. The limitas is a civilized unit. It's a -1, so they're rolling it even. They roll a 10. That's going to give them some victory points. pillage marker, which might matter for an event, and they go up to a raid plus here. This pillage marker shouldn't be here. I think they get removed during the administrative phase. I might have, it wouldn't have cost the Romans anything anyway. They did not have a city there, so no big deal. But the pillage marker up here also isn't going to mean anything. It would mean something if a kingdom took it over. That's it. To check, I got one of the few counters that might seem to do something in a usurpator counter. But that does not actually impact the victim. It impacts the barbarian, well, the raiders, which were the Picts, so they are unaffected by it. Oh, I wanted to catch something about the victory points while I'm talking about this. So the total for this, for the first turn's victory points, goes in this column. I think the total for each turn is supposed to go in a column, but I'm going to keep a running total here instead, just because I think that helps me understand who's doing well. Although in these games, quite often, you know, and EU for that matter, the victory points that you've accumulated are, they can be compared from one game to another as to how well you're doing at a particular time. But like in Britannia, oh look, the Romans are 45 points and everybody else is at like 3, you know, on the first turn. This kind of game tends to not, the running total doesn't really help you. It's the per turn total that actually is important, but it's all I have to base anything on is how well are you doing now? Oh look, the Romans are doing really well and the Persians are doing really well. Well, they got to beat them up, you know. It ends up being the wrong feeling for it. The only way that you can understand who's actually winning the game is to have played a bunch of games of it. A bunch of this particular game before, or maybe do some kind of crazy analysis on the victory conditions and think about it real hard and basically simulate a game in your head. I don't know. So that was the Picts, and the last of the bunch is the Kushani, who are coming out of Kushania, and they can keep hitting Hyrcania without any penalty, so we'll just do that. And they get a 6. That's going to give them 1 victory point and a raid minus marker. The thing is the caravan event. We'll roll right on the board to see if we can dislodge things. Okay, Sriraches. I don't know where it is. It's up here. That is going to actually give a bonus to the Huns. They'll capture some, they have a potential to capture some extra money. Nobody's going to get the caravan bonus for that one. All right, and I think that is it for a little bit. I don't really feel like coping with the diplomacy cards right now. Turns out I kind of screwed up with the Persians. I had a whole bunch of passive cards, so I'm like, I got to get one that's not too bad. I don't know how bad they get. And this one's obviously terrible. The money, who cares about? But this inaction is going to fuck with my ability to get those 20 victory points. I had a reform card, and I took a peek at it, and yeah, that would have been worth 15 extra bucks, I think, because it's no age and a leader who's fine. As it stands, my leader has been knocked out. No matter what, I do not want this. I don't particularly want a usurper action either. They're not as bad, but I think my leader would still be knocked out even if there's the usurper, so that wouldn't fix that. But I do gain a point of age, and I could have avoided that by going with the more expensive card. And reform is the most expensive type of card. 20 bucks seemed like a lot to pay, especially when I had so many passive cards. I only got to draw 2 cards, but I had to dig that deep to get a second type of card to choose. I was like, yeah, I should probably get something decent. We'll learn more about the distribution of the cards as we go and how dangerous they are. So the Western Romans had the choice of paying 10, 20, or 30 bucks for a card. Well, after what we just saw, and with no choice, I am going to spend 20, 30 bucks. This could be dangerous. This could bankrupt me. That's the problem with doing this. And it works out pretty well. However, I don't have a lot of money left over. But remember, these umpires make tons of money. And what were my other sides? Really painful. Not too good. It may be worth it to always buy the Reform. That's where I'm beginning to feel what I don't like. These little decks, the Diplomacy deck, fine, I shuffle it once per turn. That's kind of painful, but here I'm shuffling this 3 times each turn to get a new handful of cards. I don't feel like cards are the best way to manage that. I don't trust lots of shuffling of small decks. I feel like, especially when there's a sequence, when you're drawing a sequence of cards. So let's look at these guys. They're going to get 3 cards as well. So I got 2 types. This could be a terrible card. Chances are this is 2 bad cards. I don't know. We'll pay the 10 for the passive. Okay. Nothing good. Get rid of the Usurper, I guess, and take ourselves. We're not going to get to use Valens. Therefore, he's not going to die, so we don't get Theodosius, which would be kind of the bonus. No, he might just get killed, but... And we get an age, which is what we want to avoid, right? What would the military have been? A little bit better, but I don't know if it was worth 10 bucks. And I'll throw these into a discard pile just so I remember to shuffle them. I did throw the Diplomacy cards out. Nothing that I wanted to play right away. They're things that allow me to tinker with other people's relationships that I would rather do at the moment that I need them. Now it's time to figure the income. And I went through it in detail last time to try to make sure that the incomes made sense. And I'm still going to work on it on a changelog type basis. So like for Persia, what have I gained or lost for income? Well, that's an interesting question. I'm not sure. I don't remember if I had Coal Syria. I think that was Roman. I think this may have been Roman. Yeah, Osterland was definitely Roman. So I gained this. So I don't know what this 1/2 means. You'd think I would know, right? Except that I haven't really done the income where it's come up that way. So somewhere there's a map description which tells me what those 2 different values are. That's not it. Go. All right, well, very interesting. So this is what I thought it was, but that's not it. That's the per area. I don't know. Yeah, damned if I know. God, I hate this shit. Maybe it's in the income section. I doubt it. Maybe it's in the province section. Doesn't look like it. The income is printed in half. Oh, haha. Okay, that's not 1 or 2. That's 1/2. Gotcha. Okay, so now I have to look in essentially the changelog type status to make any sense of this. And God, I don't know how I'm going to cope with this game. Like, yeah, I can do that this turn, but at some point this is going to have to change. So over here, I had, no, those are those 6 areas. Yeah, I'm not sure. So these are Amida? I thought Amida was not Roman. Okay, I think I gained Amida, but I'm not sure. Oh, fuck. But it's not really mine anymore. Oh, God. Did I take Amida? No, the Romans took that back. So I will be taking this from Rome, and that's it, and this from Rome. So what does the pillage marker mean? Yeah, I don't fucking know. So I have a $1.50 more than my base from that. And this is part of Orion's, the Syria space. And I don't know what I have here. I think that's another 1, but I'm not sure. I think the loot marker, which is written as pillage, means that it's halved, but I don't know how to find that. Like, it could be in the income section, it could be in the loot section, it might be in both, which is where it belongs. Revolt, heresy, and decline. That's not it. Recovery from pillage. Okay, so this is where the pillage that the barbarians down there did would have gone away. Remember, we can't calculate the economic value for the seas correctly because it doesn't match what's in the book. And I don't think that's in the errata. God, what a fucking mess this game is. So looting. What's the effect of looting? No. Yeah, well, a looted city brings only half its income. I don't know what a pillaged marker like here does, which are placed, as far as I can tell, by the barbarians. We should have attracted. I know I didn't look this up, and therefore this didn't affect. I'm not sure it has an effect. I'm not sure that there is a pillage marker placed in areas without a city. So I am going to get rid of this one because I don't think that matters. I think it only generates loot, i.e. in the case of the Picts, it would have generated a possible event. That it doesn't actually affect that because there's no city there. So only the city is affected here. We had plus two and a, no, this is a level 1 city with a level 2 wall, plus $1.50 here, and $2.50 there. So that's 4 extra bucks, which I need to start writing down. Here's how I'm noting what they own and what they don't from their beginning positions. This isn't going to work all game, but it'll work temporarily better than trying to just remember. So anyway, what we said is something like plus $4, which means we look at Persia, and we had a total of 41. We're up to 45 now. And we lose a third of the Persia province, but I don't know about that. We lose a third of the Persia province, but I don't know if it's the cities or not. All provinces and cities from this region. So this is the total value, if I recall correctly. 2, 3, 4, Look where the border is. Maybe here, 5. Let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6.5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This can't be right. Okay, so that wasn't it. That gets me to 11. That's not right. Let's try again and see if we can find borders somewhere else. Oh, these... Wait, this one may be in there. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7.5, 8. We're not getting there. We sure the hell aren't getting there. Okay, let's look to see if we can find the border. So there's a border coming across here and here. And then Mesopotamia and Persia become one here. So I'm not really seeing a border anywhere here. So I don't know. 1, 2, and up here I'm not sure either. So, you know, this is kind of the problem. I can't tell what's where. So now it's time to go to something that I did not fix, which is there's tons of errata on somewhere or another. There's a fucking gazetteer which tells you how to see what the map should be displaying correctly, right? I mean, there's a border here. I'm not sure where the Caucasus is. I think this is up in the Caucasus. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's what I fucking come up with. 12 as the baseline. I don't see any other number that could happen there. This is supposed to be both those numbers. What the fuck? Okay, well, let's look at the goddamn gazetteer and see what it says. So I'm trying to look at Persia. What do they fucking say Persia is? Caducia, Dunk, Elymais, down here. Yeah, let's jump around because, you know, the one thing we might need to know is this. Hyrcania, up here. Medea, all the way over here. It's looking like I had it right. Frapsa, Ragae, which has this weird little red bar next to it. Over here. I don't know what that red bar is about. Susiana. No. We look like we had it. And Zagros, which is here. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hey, we're getting better. 10 sounds closer than 9. Let's try this again. 2, 3, 4. Oh, I think I forgot this. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 now. Okay, let's look at the rules. Kingdom. Cities plus provinces plus capital. Capital's not going to be in there. So this is the cities and provinces, right? The black square with an eagle is the civilized area. Yeah. Let's look. The big dark red is the total income of all of its provinces, not including cities. Oh, okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Beautiful. Okay. So yeah, we have, in this case, we get 1/3 of 9. So we lose 3, or we lose 1/3 of 9. We lose 3, and we also lose 1. I can't remember what my number was. 2, 3, another one. So we're losing 4. I think I was at 45. 4 off 45 puts us back to 41, which was our baseline. Hey, did we roll for... Yeah, so that's fine, the caravans. What the fuck am I at? Okay, I would recover from pillage here. So I gain 41 bucks and I have a ton. Now I have to urinate at this point. So I'm gonna write this fucking 41 down for turn 2 and go take care of my biological needs and come back and try to buy stuff. Now, theoretically, if I was doing these actually in order, I would be doing each of these steps one at a time. So we would be determining the income now. And how old am I? I am not old. Good. Because if I was above age 4, I would have lost some of that cash up there. And now I have to buy units and city walls and such. My entire army, including this neat new elephant unit, costs, I think, 37 bucks. I'm counting the elephant as noble cavalry because I don't know what the fuck that is, but I think that's what it counts as. I couldn't find... so there's actually a rule on the Persian elephants. It doesn't tell you what it costs. It's not listed here. It may be in the errata. I don't care. So I said 37 bucks, so I gained 4 bucks, and I'm still on the track. Given that, I don't think I have to build a wall. Walls are useful, but I feel like right now I want to build units more, and I want to keep my cash high more. So those two things in play together, I am not going to burn money on building up walls. I'm going to concentrate more on attacking stuff. However, did I gain any? No, I didn't. Nothing changed in terms of my diplomatic status with anyone. Another thing I got to keep in mind, because that affects the costs. So now I place my units with the thought that my leader is not going to be able to be used. I don't have any use for the satraps. He's not mentioned, the general. He's not mentioned anywhere in here that I notice. He's not in my setup. I don't think he's listed anywhere, but I think I'm going to just treat him like a Caesar and give myself him. I should have done it last turn because, well, it gives me a minor general in addition to what I had. I think I should have had him on the board last time. Again, maybe it's in the errata. I don't know. I've kind of given up on... I don't want to run up and down stairs to look to see on the computer whether or not the rules have something different when 50% of the time at least they do not. And the best I can generally do is... what they do say is pretty close to what I want. So, whatever. The Kingdom of Armenia should have gotten this unit back. And they will be giving a random unit to the Romans because they're still a Roman ally. 1, 2, 3, that'll be a new unit. I'll put that in Cilicia for now, and I'll put it upside down to remind me that it's not an Armenian unit. What I would be surprised about is if there was some special rule about these satraps, which seem to, they're set up differently. There is nothing here. Maybe there was... Here we go. The satraps are automatically redeployed within their 2 areas at the end of the Persian... Okay, here we go. They have 6 satraps. These may attack inside Mesopotamia and Persis only. Okay. So, how do I set them up? Within their 2 areas, satraps displace non-garrison units to adjacent controlled provinces in order to make room for them. Mesopotamia and Persis. I think I'm legitimate, but I don't think this general... Oh, wait, he's not. I don't think this general can be... he probably is limited to within Mesopotamia and Persis as well. Again, he is not mentioned there, is he? No. So I'm going to make him some sort of defensive general, and that's it. That seems like it makes some vague sort of sense. I can get rid of this pillage marker at this point, and this is how I'm going to handle the economics for the game going forward, at least until I have to start counting everything. I'm going to handle it in a changelog fashion. Phew. Okay, well, doing the Persian economics was enough that I don't want to face the Romans yet, because they're going to be more complicated. And I noticed I made the same mistake as last time, but I can't recover it as easily this time, which is I forgot to pay the maintenance for the units on the Kingdom of Persia. Again, make different rule sets for, two things that are essentially the same. The two civilized types should be the same, really. Making two different rule sets makes it much, much harder to remember what the fuck you're doing. Anyway, I'll try to figure out some guesstimate and take that money off. I definitely want the troops, so I don't know how many I had. Romans, they lost Gaul, and I think their total comes to 62 when I count it out. Whatever, but I got some maintenance to pay, right, for the heresies. I don't remember what that comes to either. So what is that? They're cheaper, so oh no, they're not cheaper. They're two, so I owe $7 for that, for the heresies plus the in decline. So that takes me down to 55. I have $6. That brings me to 61. That means I have $41 to spend. 24 of which is on these Barbarian auxiliary units that I now have available. I don't have any new units that I can build, or any lost units that I can build in the West, as far as I can see, except for limites, which aren't available until turn 4. So I don't know what that means. 24 out of that. What did I have? 61. 24 out of 61 says 57. 37 left. I probably don't want to build any forts or fortifications, because I want to make sure that I have a reasonable amount of cash left. I lost Gaul because I subjugated the Franks, so that's wrong. God. Which means I get total control is 2 plus, I think it's 2 more back, because I think I took that. So I get 4 more of that, so I'm actually at 59 here, I think. Again, we're just guessing. So 24 off 59 puts me at $35, 41. I'll build one, I guess. So 41 puts me to 36.26. So I go to there, and I'll build a fortification somewhere, and I don't know where. But that makes me a little happier, because I'm a little worried about these Goths especially coming in. I don't know where it's going to be. Cisalpina is attractive because that is somewhere they really want to go, but Illyricum looks more exposed. So I think I'll put it in Illyricum. I just fortify that. I was actually wrong about that. I have a British, I have a legion from Britain that got lost over there. I had to remove one of my Italians. They should have been there already. There's actually something that maybe shouldn't have been here. What is this? That's a... Yeah, no, I don't see it there. I thought I had another. I thought I had another Western Legion here, but these need to get moved too. Some of them, like the Greeks and everything, are in the wrong place. So I'll have to reposition them. Remember, the Romans went last, so their cleanup issue is not that big a deal. I'm not really violating anything, but I am producing some piles, which I'll put together here. I think I can reposition my Caesar. I'm not sure, because I think a new one is born every turn, basically, so I'll throw him over there on the Danube as well, because this is where I'm most worried right now. So I didn't build that city. Instead, I built the Legion up, and now I figure out the Byzantines. Right, there is a unit over in the east that I don't know is supposed to be there. It's a Western unit, but it's not one that automatically redeploys. So I think it actually stays there, just as if it were, invading another territory or something. And I guess I can just keep using it as a reinforcement, at least until the two empires. On turn 3, the division occurs. Each empire must be played separately. The Western gets an in decline marker, and its capital moves, but it doesn't. It already has an in decline marker at the beginning of the game. I assume it gets a second one when the disruption happens. So it's going to be in quite a bit of trouble in the West, unless some kind of something fixes. Now, did I do? Yeah, I did everybody's, I think, and that's why I paid lots of money. That's why I didn't have a lot of money left over. It's hard to remember what the fuck's going on in this game. Lost $3 off the Byzantines, which should put them down to 68. They have a ton of cash still. Another 30. I can take like 10 more, but so we may see some fortifications being built. Really torn with the. I'm $2 over, like I was $1 over with the Romans. I'm at 56. That gives me 12. That will put me out here somewhere. Now I could spend 15 of that 12, and I think it's worth it to build yet another fort. I built forts here and here. I threw some of the barbarian troops down. I really I'll upgrade the Theodosian walls. Why not? This seems like the turn to do it. I don't know. But, yeah, I might as well. And I think I've done my economic stuff. You didn't see me frustrating as much or calculating as much, because I did it behind the scenes where I should. And that puts us. There are no revolts, I don't believe. Or I do believe there are no revolts. So we go to activations, and our first activation will be. I thought there was a 4. 1, 2, 3. Where are the Germans? Oh, I'm hiding. There they are. Our first activation will be the Germans. That's false. The first activation will be the Hun who jump the gun and get an initial activation before all of the German states do. And then they come in and get their additional ones. And I think, I'm not positive, but I think the Burgundians, Vandals, etc. go after the Huns' full invasion, but I'm not positive about that, so I'll be back with the explanation on that. So the Huns are the interesting thing. They have a bunch of special rules relating to them. Remember how I said they could be destroyed? We'll touch that in a moment. But indeed, the Burgundians and the Vandals are also Germanic. There's a list of all the Germanics sort of in the rules. the instructions here say on turn 2, the Huns enter play with an invasion, this powerful nomadic nation coming from Central Asian steppes. The invasion is interrupted by other nations' activations as follows, and then it goes into the Germans after the first invasion turn. Then the Huns get their second invasion turn and the leader. The remaining nations activate normally afterwards, the Alans followed by the Persians. Now, in the errata, I had a note that the Germans get like an extra move after that. That I don't buy that. I think that this is trying to correlate something weird. Like, I think that, and this is the problem with the designer writing the game and then someone else trying to flack for it and field the questions. I fear that the errata doesn't capture Thibault's intentions properly, and I think the intentions actually are the Huns move once, the Germans move once, then the Huns move a second time, and then the non-German remaining nations get to go again, which is how the player aid is written. And again, this is the problem, is, I just don't trust the errata as being particularly correct as to expressing the intentions behind the game. When I think about this, I'm like, you have a Germanic invasion, but the Germans get, or you have the Hun invasion, but the Germans get another chance to get away. The Huns aren't just pushing two things out of order, nor they're getting one turn out of order that allows them to catch the Ostrogoths. There's no reason that the Ostrogoths and the Visigoths and whatever else gets two full turns. They're not all getting invasions. Now, there might be the question of, do any of these have invasions? The Burgundians and the Vandals do not. The Suebi do not. So they shouldn't be getting a double turn anyway. If one of them had been getting a double turn, I would say, okay, maybe that maybe that weird interleaving going twice makes sense, or whatever. Although I would have actually said, just let the barbarians run as far as they can. Anyway, I think the errata is wrong, and that's how I'm going to play. So, for the Huns, what makes them particularly interesting, they got a bunch of special stuff, like the Alans are covered in the Huns book, maybe because the Huns are the most likely to have them as vassals, or maybe only if the Alans are Hunnish vassals. This applies where they get more rebellion checks. The Huns have to redeploy their units close to the horde. I think that's different from other barbarians. I don't know. I don't remember seeing it elsewhere. Some special rules with the Western Rome that they have to help, but this is the biggie. Collapse or empire. The Huns can't found a kingdom. When Attila lies dying at the end of his turn 5 Hun phase activation, they either form an empire or collapse. And if they control no more than 2 areas, they just disappear. They're gone. Okay. So you got to work hard to get them to 3 areas. One of their auxiliaries is removed each turn from each owning empire, i.e. their mercenaries start dying off as a race. All of their vassals are freed, whatever. Okay, but here's the other side of it. If they hold 3 or more areas, they roll a die, which has modifiers here. And they can sacrifice Hunnish cavalry to improve their chances. Additional civilized and barbarian areas can add to their chances. Ravenna and or Constantinople each add to their chance. However, if the horde ends up in a civilized area, that's a problem. So you got to be careful of that. And if they roll less than a 10, they're gone. And the Huns get some victory points. This is their booby prize, but here, if they make it to turn 6, they get 5 points for each province outside Danubis held by the Huns. They get 3 for each province in Danubis, and 10 victory points if they have a bunch of provinces in Danubis. And then later, they get continuing victories elsewhere. Victory points elsewhere. So you want to keep your Hunnish kingdom alive. Since it's your major source of points, you know, that 4 points per cav, it doesn't make up for all these points that you can make. Also, points that you make for killing things. Each city level looted gives you 2 victory points. Each area with 3 pillage chits in it and a Hun presence gets you 3 victory points. Submitting the 2 Goths, any turn that you can do that, you get 12 victory points. You know, this is pretty nice. So you definitely don't want to get them killed. All right, it's an invasion, so I'm allowed to move my little dude hickey with them, and I have to think really carefully about where I want to go and how I want to do things. What I'd really like to do is submit the Goths. So I think that's going to be my goal in this first move before the Goths get to run away. I start to move my Huns. Here's the question. And this is a weird situation. And again, I feel like I have to play it by ear rather than anything else. But I am moving through, okay, I'm not, right? I don't know what the hell this is. So this is up here. I could actually intercept the Huns as they move into here and cause them issues. And that's problematic, assuming that we're hostile. So that's where the issue gets ugly, is if I can intercept, I can stop the Hunnish army here and prevent them from pushing forward. I don't know what the odds of it are. I won't be able to do it here. Actually, I don't know if I can. I don't have my horde there, so I don't control the province. Okay, so 2, 3. Consider the Alans could conceivably intercept me. I don't think they want to. So I'm going to move to there. And then these are going to also move 1, 2, 3 to here. The Huns should have some money for that caravan, perhaps. I gotta look that up. I missed that earlier. So I don't remember if that's under caravans or somewhere else. A barbarian nation controlling a caravan gets diluted if it passes a D2 check. So we'll say on odds. We did not. Okay. Great. But I am set up to launch an attack here. Ostrogoth's got a successful fleeing option there. So the Huns fail to get them. And that's the Huns' first turn. They didn't gain anything off of it. I'm assuming none of these chips helped. I don't remember what they are. Saint isn't going to help. Good administration, 52. Remembering all the shit that's out. I hate games with events, even if they're cards, but in terms of holding things. Rolling Stones just successfully besieged a capital. Okay, that is not in play. So yeah, the Huns failed, and that puts us down to the Germanic states, starting with the Alemanni. And I'll move the Huns back down. Now, maybe that extra campaign thing, and I'll go look that up, maybe that's meant to be the Huns' first move is an extra one, and then they get a full major invasion in their normal space. That would make their situation much, much more powerful. They're not allowed to enter Germania, though, so it's not going to help them too much. The errata reads as I represented it the first time. It has nothing to do with giving the Huns an extra turn. It gives all the Germanics an extra turn. I just don't buy that. I would rather stand with how the rules appear to have been written initially. I do not think, and this is again a weird situation. Wait a minute. Vassals are neutral. They're allowed to enter other people's territory. I don't know quite what it does, but it could change the control situation. So the Alemanni are able to wander around inside Roman territory and get to the places that they want to get for victory points. So the places they want to go for victory points are Lotharingia, Agri, Decimus, Austrasia, and Burgundy. Not yet. But I'll move these just to space myself out. Now, unlike the Britannia games, this doesn't have a, oh, I get production based on the spaces that I hold or anything like that. So, you know what? I'll just place like this. The migration to Flanders, moving all their units there. They're also interested in Austrasia, but I don't want to fight it yet. I'll try to push that issue next turn. The Ostrogoths are trying to flee the Huns. Unfortunately, they're ending up mainly in Baltic states because of stacking limitations. The Huns could have picked on them up here, I guess. Do I want to? Possibly. No, because I don't have my horde up here, so I can't intercept. Yeah. Yeah, and the Visigoths moving into position to move into Italy where they want to go. Unfortunately, the Ostrogoths want to be down in Illyrica and Danubius, and they're really not well positioned for that, but we'll see how things go next turn. Of course, the Huns are positioned to take another shot at them. They're not in Germany, so they're not safe. Germanic tribes have now slid into Germany, than the Ostrogoths, hiding from the Huns for this turn, and I don't know if they're all actually there. The Vandals may not be. Wait, the Vandals are in Germany. I don't know what province this is here. Bohemia is part of... yeah, nobody's in there. You think it's part of Danubia. Anyway, they've all fled away, and they're heading towards where their victory points are next turn. The one exception is the Suebi, who aren't interested until turn 6. They have to make it to Spain somehow. So they're just going to be migrating all game and maybe getting picked off by things. The difficulty is the limites that the Romans might have, but many of them have been busted away, and so now the difficulty becomes the older Germanic nations being in the way of the ones that want to pass through. They can pass through because they're all neutral to each other. They don't provide a good, even though they're, officially submitted to Rome, they don't provide a limitation to those more barbaric tribes making their way through. The Huns got a bad draw with Cav, allowed the Goths, and this is how they did it last time, to retreat again. The Huns pushed forward, trying to force a submission. They can do it once more. He has one additional campaign, so he can do it once more. And that means my Huns are just chasing the Goths, trying to get them submitted. The Visigoths, it's almost impossible to submit, so I'm not going to get that 12 points. They're in Germany now. There's nothing else that's really terribly valuable to me. I mean, I could try to punch through the Romans, but I think the Romans are going to have trouble with the Germanic invasion next turn, and the Huns are going to be the follow-up to that and try to take advantage of that. That's my guess. I can't be entirely sure. Turn 3 should be the Germanic invasions, the Great Invasions, 4 allied barbarians, the Alans, Burgundians, Vandals, and Suebi, I guess. And I think most of them happen before the Huns, but I can't be sure. No, the Huns happen first. Yeah. What is the value to getting the Goths? Well, if I have the Goths, they will help me to possibly control another region. So I think submitting them is still my best move. I would have rather been able to get other things, but I don't know. Can I do anything of value elsewhere? Like, Caesar could screw with me if I try messing up there, but I might want to take these guys, they're not submitted to anyone. Who are these guys submitted to? These guys are submitted to the Ostrogoths. I've got to note that shit down because that's not apparent to me. Ostrogoths were unable to get away. They're playing their treachery card, and they steal 2 Hunnish units. Fairly minimal battle. Basically, those 2 units got destroyed. The Huns lost a unit that they recovered, withdrew, and the Goths are able to survive through that card. And that gave them a victory point as well, for whatever that matters. The Huns are done, and they kind of fizzled. Now, we have actually a problem here. I've got to do the Allies next. But these are Gothic submissions that aren't allowed to move on their own term. This one's fine, but this one I think is too far away, and because they gotta either be in Sarmatia or Barbarian. I think I'm just gonna give them a turn under Roman control, because the Romans control them, to move them forward, to get them in compliance with being subjugated to the Goths. I can't think of what else to do with them. Basically, the Allies moved forward, and now I take care of these little suckers. These guys are fine. They're in Barbarian, and I don't think there's a provincial boundary or a area boundary, but these guys are a problem. I've got to either move into Sarmatia or up here. I'll move here because this is annoying to the Goths, sort of, not really, because they're neutral to each other. And that puts us, and by the way, I think I fucked up. When these submitted, I don't think the Ostrogoths got troops out of them. They should have. I'm just going to let it stand because it would be too hard to cope with. I mean, I could give them a unit out of each. This one didn't have any units, so they couldn't have. This one did, though, so it was here. It could have repositioned. We'll just give that over here, because they didn't lose anything. Fine. We'll call that even. So yeah, this is what we have right now. If I had some purple pieces to use there, I would, because yeah, things are just too hard. With 3 counters to cover, I've already got 4 of those hordes submitted, and there might be more soon. The Huns have petered out. We'll see if they're going to be able to take 3 areas. I don't think they will. They look like they're up shit's creek. Had they submitted something, or, you know, maybe battered their way through the Romans, either one would have been interesting, but instead they just kind of got fucked completely. I think this video is going to load up because I don't know how long the civilized are going to take, is kind of the thing. The barbarians were really, really fast. I'm hoping to get it down to 1 hour video or about there per turn. I don't think I can do any better than that. So, let's see about these. I don't want all these on the board. Yeah, put those back. I'm just not going to load up another video tonight. If it goes 1.5 hours or whatever, that's life. Persians with basically no leader are, I mean, I have the satraps, and I could use him to command a small force to fight against Valens here, who has also no leadership values. But I'm concentrating more on my turn 3 victory points, so I moved towards Egypt. I didn't get caught here, but I got caught way down here where it was less likely, and I couldn't reinforce. On the other hand, that allowed me to push a bunch of Persian forces up to the border, so that Palestine is now at risk, and I took Syria. Killed the Limites over there. I got this battle. This is not a battle I particularly want to fight, but I don't really have an option. I don't have a retreat available, except that these are through empty areas, and I think I'll be able to do that, actually. So I might end up down in Nubia or something. Shit, this is not good enough. I need to launch an attack. And this may be an issue. I need to launch an attack because these don't count. I already owned Syria. So I've only got 7 units attacking. I need 3 more units to attack the Romans in order to get my 20-point bonus. Almost missed it there. In battle situation, the Romans took 2 losses on these guys. Therefore, they got them back and recovered their heavy unit. And that puts them here. Now, the Persians are allowed to retreat into empty or neutral provinces. Or no, is it empty and neutral? Yeah, empty. Wait, the destination provinces. You can go through empty, neutral, or friendly. Or empty, and they can end up in empty rural provinces. The question, I can't go through the Sinai. That was where I was taken from. The question is whether these are empty or not with their cities. Those cities would block you if you were trying to advance through them, but I'm not sure that they do on a retreat. The term empty is not defined, of course, and that's not necessary. So this one actually doesn't even have a fortified city. And then, of course, can I end in an empty and rural province? Oh, I don't know. I think I end up down in Nubia. And because it doesn't make sense that after being defeated, I could attack those things. But I don't know, you know. It also doesn't make sense that this province is not empty. You might convince me that the walled city is something that prevents me from being there. But I really don't think I should be able to siege the city after being defeated, but I'm not sure that I shouldn't, given that it is an empty and rural province, and I'm half tempted to say that I should be able to. Let's see how sieges are worded. Again, you can't really use too much reason to resolve this. An empty enemy province with a city. You know what? I think I'm allowed to siege this. Yeah, I think I'm allowed to siege it. I think I'd be allowed to siege this too, but I have less of a chance. Neat. The siege failed. There's something kind of interesting about, and I took my 20 points for all those attacks. There is something kind of interesting about the way the battles are handled here. Now remember, these are 25-year turns. Of course, the battles may happen in slices of those turns. They may represent more than just a single small movement, whatever. They may be sitting somewhere between, your normal Britannia-style turns, and obviously they are much, much less detailed than the turns in something like Imperium Romanum. But Imperium Romanum and most ancient systems take into account something that's true about ancient war, which is an army often is pretty much dissolved by a failure. Like, when an army routed in the ancient times, there wasn't much to recover from it. But again, you're talking about 25-year turns. There's time to build a new army up in that time. So even if you're not talking about recovering the routed forces from that army, you may well be talking about building a new army where it was. So yeah, it's very difficult to understand what the game is trying to portray in a lot of ways. It feels like the level of detail of the military stuff is just way too much for a game with 25-year turns, and that's kind of the issue. Now, could you have done a Britannia-style game that accurately portrayed the movements of these peoples? Yeah, you probably could have. You would have had to do something funky to handle the Romans, but I mean, you could have done it without using, as many ornaments as this thing does. Obviously, this is kind of one of those. But I think you could have put a much, much cleaner game out there than this. But would it give... I don't know. I mean, I'm throwing my hands in the air in terms of, is this giving anything like an accurate representation? This is no fucking simulation. This is like I said, the complexity is gratuitous in this. Rather than trying to read off the card, which I find the font and everything almost impossible to look at, I'm going to take a look at what we need to do here. Each of I don't know what it means to abandon a territory. That's not defined anywhere that I know of. But turn 2 is a victory point turn for the Romans. Remember when I said I think they're all kind of locked in? Yeah, I lied. It's not the case. So on turn 2, Agra, Decumatus, Dalmatia, Noricum, Pannonia, and Raetia are each worth 5. And I gotta look at them. So Agra Decumacus is up here, and I don't think there's anything in it. So I could grab that. And, I'll make that assessment on each thing. But also, all the provinces of Africa, Britannia, or either Gallia, each area. That sounds like... I'm not sure quite what it means, because it says each area. They don't know quite how to assess this ore. Is that 40 points that are on the line, or 3 10s? I don't know. Let's look at the Byzantines and see how theirs is worded. Yeah, no, theirs doesn't help. Yeah, I don't know if we're talking about I've got 40 points on the line, or if something else. If I have to get any one of these gets me 10. Big difference, right? Maybe there's a clarification in the errata. So I run back downstairs and take a peek at the errata. Is that the ore has to mean that I'm getting 10 points for each. Well, no, the each area means that I'm getting 10 points for each area of these. Personally, though, that ore is incorrect in that case. It should be all provinces of Africa, Britannia, and both Gallia, each area. The ore is what throws me into confusion there. It sounds like it might be an exclusive. But then it should say any area. Again, though, no idea what the designer actually means. Since the question hasn't been raised, maybe it's not, it just hasn't been questioned because of that each area there. But I can see where 40 points is a lot. But okay, we'll see. Moving 1 unit into Agrica, or Agridecumatus, I have actually collected all the points because my subjugates are holding the Gallia stuff. The other places, Africa, Britannia, and both Gallia, well, there's a little bit in North Gallia that's of question, but I have them subjugated. Britannia and Africa, there's no risk in either of them. So I'll be collecting something like 60 points off the Romans. Plus, I get to do all kinds of crap. Notice that last turn and this turn, I did not get the 2 points for each provincial income that I would have been getting. So I gotta add those in there. I think everything else I got, except I did not take penalties for Roman cities looted. Again, you know, I should have seen this, but I'll try to correct those. Out to 12 points per turn retroactively, both turns. I don't know. I mean, this city was probably looted last turn, so it was probably 8 points last turn and 14 this turn. But I did the 12 per turn just because. And then the 60 other that I'm going to get, but I'm just counting them ahead of time because it's easier. And I launched attacks against a couple of barbarians, none of which can intercept because, why? Well, I'm going after the hordes and the stacking is probably too high, is my guess. If the Visigoths end up too low, I'll take a look at that. And I'm also going after the Huns, and they failed in their interception chance, which is a big lucky break. I have a German barbarian that I added, and I'm going to try to subjugate 3 nations this turn. And the Burgundians with no leader. I forgot to roll the Burgundian reroll. I don't get points for killing Romans because I'm not in Gaul. This may be why the barbarian Germans are supposed to get another attack, but I'm really not sure about that. I will make the Romans re-roll this, and let's see if that comes out as good. Oh, no, it doesn't. Okay, the Romans still win the battle, but they basically do nothing to anyone. But they generate 2 more points. Against the Visigoths in Bavaria also didn't result in much. Neither side won the battle. Well, neither side. They both did 2 hits. They both got 2 victory points. The Romans have to withdraw, however. Beat the Huns. Got myself 3 victory points off of it. Did no damage to the Romans. The Huns come back. One of them dying. But the Huns are a nomadic barbarian. So I get a little marker for them, and I have subjugated them. Make an assassination check. If the Huns had successfully say subjugated the Goths or something, they would lose them at this point. So now I've got some points over here in Danubia, if that matters at all. I don't believe it did. It was Dalmatia, which was the thing that got me points, not Danubia, if I recall correctly. Yeah. So now I get to do my leader activations because Caesar wasn't killed. I'm not quite sure what to do with them, because each one is separate. Caesar's not very powerful. I don't know, let me think. And especially because it's kind of easy here because I'm only moving 1 stack. I move Caesar forward. 1, 2. Again, he can't be intercepted because none of these barbarians control shit. And now I catch up with a couple of units from here. Should bring me up to 5. Bunch of elites. And I could attack the Vandals, but I've got more of a chance of subjugating another nomadic barbarian. A couple of steps about vassalizing. One is I got a Hunnish mercenary. I'm not going to have that affect anything. The other is I got half their money. They didn't have any. And I got a pillage marker, which gave me 2 extra bucks and an event that I can't really use right now. There's some complicated die manipulation here. We ended up with a near tie battle, and the Romans get 2 points. The Alani get their first victory point of the game and repulse the Romans, who did not win the battle. And I'm going to have to figure out where they go. I think it's going to be Bohemia. Now Gratianus will use his bonus move to make another attack against the Alani, because again, they're the easier to submit, and I think cool stuff will happen if I've got these nomads submitted to me. At least I get troops from them. Some complicated die trade-offs, because the Alani have the cav advantage, but they lose it to the heavy advantage that the Romans have. But we end up with the Romans doing a little bit of damage. Let's see about an assassination. This is going to be a submission here. There is no assassination. So, yeah. I don't think the Alani have any money. So we just draw one of these suckers, and it looks like Rome just gets another buck. I have to withdraw. I've submitted them. I get another unit, and these guys get these back. Rome gets its back. Nothing much happened. Understand the mercenary. This goes home because it's only for a turn, not forever. Although it looks like forever on the card. And the Romans have netted a total of 84 points this turn, and I still have the Byzantines who get, I don't know what. We'll see if their book tells them lots more points. I have the feeling that they're going to get points for holding territories over the last couple turns. At the very least, I don't think they get the big, hey, gain lots of points for owning stuff like the Romans did on turn 2. Which I think these pillage markers are actually gone. Aren't they? I don't think anybody did any pillaging this turn. I think that was all last turn. I don't know. Damned if I can remember shit in this game. But yes, I am taking a certain masochistic pleasure in this whole thing. It's an interesting little tidbit. Byzantine decline. No equivalent that I saw in the Roman booklet. As I'm looking. There's this, but this is different. That is when it collapses. See the Byzantine player rate, great. In decline, the Byzantines in Rome make a D2 check after the purchases step. If it fails, the usurper calamity occurs. I did not do that. I don't know what that would do to the Theodosius rule, but whatever. I will try to remember that from now on. It's not that big a deal, but it can kill some Roman units. It replaces the leader. The leader currently is not anyone that great, so the usurper counter is not bad. It's about equivalent. But the biggie is that it does hits to the Roman leader. I don't know what it does in terms of inactivity, though. I don't know what that would do with Theodosius either. Okay. This guy should actually be at Constantinople because he went inactive. And the unnamed Caesar also. Huh. I didn't realize that. Oh well. I'm not going to have him for this. I can't undo his pursuit and all that. He goes to Antioch or Dara. Sure. I don't know. Is Antioch? Where's Antioch? Where's Dara? Oh. I'm showing Antioch. I'm feeling Antioch's in here, but I'm not seeing it. There's Dara. I don't own that shit. Antioch should be further east now. There we go. Okay, well that's where he was. He's just inactive, so he couldn't have done shit. Okay, and did it have another effect? I don't know. They don't take their troops. Okay, great. So collapse normally disappears in Empire, I think. I'm not sure exactly what happens there. But my goal here is going to be to weaken the Persians as much as possible. I think. Oh, there was something else I forgot. There were additional points for the Romans because they killed a Barbary, and an additional point for the Persians for killing one of these Kasani earlier on. I've scored those already. I'm just trying to see what I want to do with my Byzantines without a leader, so they only get one action. Catching up on some stuff that should have been done. The Romans redeployed their forces back to their home provinces. I noticed that I ran around with some limites somewhere or picked some up that I shouldn't have had. I don't know what happened, but that's a common thing. I pick them up and I move them someplace, and then they have to go back where they came from. They weren't really able to do anything of value. These Huns I can throw underneath the pile. And yeah, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna do my attacks with the Romans. The big problem I have right now is the Persians have a lot of points, and I know about that coming to them next turn if they can capture Egypt and Oriens. And I want to stop them from doing that. Other thing, and this is the kind of shit, this is just going to happen all the time. I noticed that I had captured Babylonia. There's no markers to indicate who owns what. Your troops are in it. Well, that works fine in Britannia. It doesn't work so well in this, where there's a lot of mobility and everything. Notably, I can leave Babylonia, and then what happens? Well, if I don't leave a garrison there, I think the Persians probably owe the Eastern Romans $1 or something, but it may not be the case. I don't know. I got no idea. Because it's pillage, so it's only $0.50, but whatever. I could just leave it be. So if I don't leave a unit there, I think this collapses into Persia, because Persia will end up owning the area, because what are the rules for owning an area? Well, for a kingdom, well, yeah, because the Romans don't own the area, so they have to keep a garrison there. They're not going to get it for free the way they get, I don't know, let's say Greece or something like that, although they've got troops in these places. But, okay, Britannia was empty. The Romans did not lose Britannia for it being empty because they controlled it. They don't control this. They own that province, but if they leave it, that province is no longer under control because they don't control the area. Therefore, I kind of have to leave a garrison there, or else I'll be abandoning Babylon, and then I'll have to change my little notepad that now includes Babylon in the changelog. And yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the fuck to do, because I want to launch an attack into Syria. I want to kill these, but it's really hard to kill things. So like, yeah, if I attack here and cover these two spaces, they could still slip up here. I mean, there's just nothing I can do to destroy them. If I hit them with overwhelming force, they can retreat and reform. There's nothing I can really do to destroy them. The best I can do is cause some damage, and knocking them down to one unit doesn't make it any harder for them to take Egypt, except if I garrison Egypt, which I have a legion that'll do that, but, you know, whatever. I think the Romans too many points for their territorial gains, because there are two heretical provinces. I still have to give the Byzantines theirs. Now, did they lose a province? This is something I got to remember as I'm playing it out. I believe I lost a point off Oriens. So normally I would have gotten 12 for them. I think I only get 11 for both turns, probably. Romans went, they beat the Persians and killed off a couple of unimportant units that are easy to rebuild. The good units, of course, recovered and are back in play. Now comes complexity. I got no idea who fucking owns anything. This was owned by the Persians, but the Romans retreated out. This was owned by the Romans. This is owned by the Persians at the beginning of this turn, but they moved out of it. And so what is the state of who controls what in the Oriens? And I have no fucking clue whatsoever. So let's look at the control of provinces and see if we can figure out a damn thing about this. Okay. Now remember, yeah. Okay, so we know who controlled the provinces. Let's look at empires first because they're the most. They need the majority of cities. Right now I have 1, 2, 3 of the cities to 2, which I believe means that they take over all of the territories in Oriens other than this one. So now Osterhone and Syria have both returned to Roman hands somehow. You know, I mean, again, there's 25 years in here. And I don't know if I'm going to make it through this fucker. I don't know if I'm going to make it through many more turns. I mean, I quit 2 turns in my previous play because, you know, I mean, it's just like, it's such chaos. It really is. That, yes, there's a certain sick enjoyment, but, you know, there's only so much sick enjoyment I can cope with. There's something so perverted about this game and so fucking flawed. Thibault's games are always flawed. They're always a fucking rules mess. This is like the epitome of what he has done. He hasn't even bothered making a particularly interesting game as far as I can see that underlies it. I mean, you know, at least to me, the stuff that's so interesting about Europa Universalis or about La Grande Guerre, which are his only other 2 designs that I know of, is they go into this detailed scope, detailed analysis of a massive strategic scope in the case of La Grande Guerre, or beyond that in terms of Europa Universalis, and look at everything, and you know, you can try to figure out what's going on because things are not abstracted very much. Here, it's going with the kind of abstraction that a Britannia type game has, and then throwing all this crap on top of it. And it's just like, okay, look, if it was perfectly easy to understand, that exercise would still be painful and unpleasant, I think, but it wouldn't be completely futile. But I feel like I got no idea what I'm doing and whether or not these numbers that I'm recording here mean a damn thing, because they're coming out fucking ridiculous, you know. And the same thing happened with Hispania. And I want to clarify something. That is not a Thibault game. It's an Azure Wish game. Azure Wish is associated with him. His other 2 games were published under Azure Wish. It uses the same style of rulebook. All the Azure Wish, or almost all of the Azure Wish games, look like this kind of rules with the numbering system and everything. Whatever formatting was used there was taken into this. But man, this is, I mean, at least with Hispania, it is close enough to Britannia, and that, yeah, there's a lot of chrome sitting on it, but here, we're just going beyond that. And it's like they're just hanging lead weights on the Christmas tree now. I don't know. Maybe another turn. We'll see. We'll see if I can push myself into it. So yeah, I got to do some markups to indicate that Rome has just regained the Orient pretty much entirely. Let's take a look at the point gains for this. So the pink player is at 178. I'm not doing the running total. They get 104 points this turn. Green got nothing, which puts them at a total of 7. Yellow got 27 points, which puts them at 64. The big points there coming from that same, hey, you get 20 bonus points for attacking Rome. And blue got 7 more points. That puts them up to 31. So, you know, when you look at something like that, you're saying, oh, geez, the game's totally imbalanced. Don't think of it that way. This is the same as a Britannia type game. You have no idea what the flow is going to be. Of course, when you're not absolutely certain what the victory points actually mean, it's always problematic, you know. But that happened, I seem to remember that happening with a number of the games in the Britannia series as well, where it's like, what do they exactly mean like this? Because they take some shorthand or whatever. This one just magnifies that, of course, and makes it worse than you can possibly imagine. Yeah, this is one of the most horrendous things I've seen in a while. I have to say that, and I do take a certain pleasure in that.